Okay, how's it going today, you guys? So, we've reached the last update for Modern Warfare 3's life cycle. And I kind of want to do something a little bit different. I want to go over, was Modern Warfare 3 a good game? And this is going to be kind of a longer one. I tried to write down some notes last night, and I found myself just with a huge long paragraph that I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this kind of free ball, because if I try to read this, it's gonna full on just not sound natural. It's gonna sound like I'm reading off a script, and I don't want to do that. So I just put down some talking points, and I'm just gonna talk freely about this. So, diving right into it. So I feel like to accurately look at this game objectively, a good way would be to look at previous titles. So the last two previous titles to MWIII being Call of Duty Vanguard, Sledgehammer's last game that they came out with, and Modern Warfare 2, the predecessor to Modern Warfare 3. So, getting right into it. Vanguard honestly was not a huge success. Now, I did not play Vanguard's campaign, but based off of the information that I gathered from watching Ink Slasher, it was kind of a lackluster campaign. There wasn't a lot of depth of characters, and overall it just wasn't amazing. And I don't have a whole bunch more to really speak on that point because, again, I did not play it. Multiplayer side. So if we're looking at the multiplayer, and these aren't reviews of Vanguard or MW2, but it's just good comparison. So on the multiplayer side, I don't think that Vanguard's multiplayer was terrible. I think the time setting that it was put into was bad. And that was more or less the gripe. If you had that same game, same maps, same characters, modern day weapons set in a modern time, game would have been amazing. It would have been a hit. But that wasn't the case. Then you run into issues of weapons having way too many levels, which was just kind of the theme behind that era of Call of Duty. And just huge glitches, like not even being able to unlock the mastery camo right off the get-go because of the glitches with the Panzer. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Then you also have zombies. I get that that was a Treyarch portion of the game, but still, it was a part of Sledgehammer's title that year. And it was not great, and it did not become good until they eventually released, towards the end of Vanguard's life cycles, a round-based zombies map. So I mean, overall, Vanguard in its own was kind of a fail. Now let's move forward. Vanguard's life cycle is over. We are going into a new cycle of Call of Duty, a new era. We have Call of Duty next. They promise a whole bunch of stuff. The game is looking promising.
It can be kind of tricky, what do you keep from the previous game? What do you get rid of? And where can you add new things in and not mess up this kind of nicely balanced ecosystem that we had?
So, right off the get-go, we have what we haven't had ever before, and my first time ever playing a campaign early access. And I played through it because in my eyes, this was a way for me to play the game a week early, get some time in, get used to what I was going to be jumping into, and I really found myself enjoying it. It was a good campaign, it was a good story. It took about 4 IRL hours, and yeah, I mean, it was a good campaign. overall. Jumping into the multiplayer side of things. Infinity Ward changed a lot. A lot that we are fundamentally used to. And some things for the good, some things for the bad. So, let's start out with the good. They simplified the camo progression, which was nice. This was kind of the first time I've ever actually gotten a final mastery camo. I actually was able to get Orion in Modern Warfare 2. Compared to Vanguard, which had 70 levels per weapon, a whole bunch of ridiculous challenges, put this optic and under barrel on and get hip fire kills kind of crap. Things were just simplified. The game looked great. The maps weren't terrible. But when we look at the movement, how the guns worked, every little bad thing that they did is just related to basically using the fucking guns. And it's, you go to jump, you go to dive, you go to do anything, and you're getting a huge penalty. And it made the game feel lackluster.
And so we came up with a few methods. One of them being player behaviors. And I say behaviors and not play styles. I think a lot of people will say play styles, but that can kind of change during a match. But behaviors are more ingrained in how players play. And we just put them into 3 big groups. We call them rushers, which are just aggressive players. They just want to find the action and go. And then we have sentinels, and these are defensive players. They want to just kind of hold down a building, maybe keep overwatch. And then we have stalkers, which are reactive, and they kind of hang back and try to read the field and read where spawns are. And really, we just kind of use these as filters to keep us honest.
So they promised diversity in player behaviors. Let's just call them playstyles. They are the same damn thing. And that would only be true if Infinity Ward wasn't so bullheaded and wouldn't stick to their guns. About movement, about no red dots on the minimap with unsuppressed weapons. You know, basic things that have, you know, outside of movement have always been in every Call of Duty. So, no, multiplayer for MW2 was not good. Now, MW2 didn't actually have a zombies mode. The closest thing that it actually had was DMZ. DMZ takes a lot of inspiration from Outbreak. And yes, I know that DMZ was more on the Warzone side of things, but it was a Infinity Ward baby. And honestly, it wasn't a terrible game mode. It was an extraction shooter. The only problem with it is, once you complete the missions, what do you do there? You know, how do you continue on? Other extraction shooters have seasonal resets. DMZ only had one. So looking at all that, Modern Warfare 2 was kind of a fail. I mean, it was not an enjoyable playing experience, especially when you're looking at the multiplayer side of it, which is the biggest part of any fucking Call of Duty title. So, looking at both of these titles, both of them being a fail, the initial thought is it can't get any worse. So, you can only get better from here. So, taking a look at Modern Warfare 3. So, campaign. It wasn't short like people are saying, but the story itself wasn't great. And I've heard things like Sledgehammer took over the project after Infinity. I don't know how true that is. I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate on it. But I will say the story wasn't amazing. It had points in it where you felt like you were moving towards something special, something big, and it just never did. The best parts of this campaign for me was actually getting to go and see Verdansk. And at the point that you think that, oh, the game's really going to start getting good, the story's really going to start getting good, Soap dies, and the fucking story ends. And it's like, what in the fuck are we doing here? That was the ending? I literally got to that point in the campaign, and it starts the title, and it's like, really? That's how we're fucking ending this? So, I mean, I was not impressed with how the campaign went. And it's kind of a cycle there. And I'll dive into that in a little bit. But now looking at the multiplayer. So, multiplayer, it seems like Sledgehammer took every good thing that Infinity Ward did in MW2 and brought it into MW3. And they fixed any problem that Infinity Ward had during their life cycle of MW2 and fixed it. You could basically move how you wanted to with limited penalties. I'm not going to say there wasn't any. There was, but it wasn't so harsh that you couldn't play the fucking game. If you wanted to camp, you could camp. If you wanted to hold angles, play objectively, you could. Or if you wanted to run around like a madman gunning, you could. It was a really refreshing change after playing a year of MW2 where you were just penalized for any little minute amount of movement that you would do. Jump, sprint, dive, your gun would just stay there stagnant and you wouldn't be able to get it up fast enough. Your best option, again, was just crouch walk and hold angles, just walk around, aim down sight. And don't want to sit here and just continue to bitch about MW2. So MW3, 16 nostalgic maps at launch, the ability to utilize movement in a fun and engaging way, and good gunplay, good guns. They just overall nailed it on the multiplayer side with all the support and everything. Okay, now on to zombies, or MWZ. So, way MWZ works, it's a extraction-based zombies mode developed for Modern Warfare 3. It's on the same Warzone map that we currently have, Urzikstan. In the center, there is a red zone that is the hardest section of the map. On the outskirt, there's orange and then gray. Gray is the lightest threat level. Now, there are missions that you can complete to progress yourself through the story. Tiers 1 through 4. At the end of each tier, there's a portion called a story mission that progresses you in a linear path throughout the Modern Warfare Zombies experience. Now, my only issue with this Zombies game mode is once you complete the missions, what is there to do afterwards? Kind of like DMZ. And honestly, beyond the mid-season updates, Zombies really didn't see that much support. And, you know, this is another Treyarch Zombies mode, and I've got to imagine that it's simply because it's not their main game. This is Sledgehammer's game, so why would they put all their ducks in a row for a game that's not even theirs? So, I mean, Zombies mode is still good. It's just, I feel like there could have been a little bit more support on the Zombies side of Modern Warfare 3. I also feel like there could have been more overall zombies in the actual map. So, to wrap things up, looking at MW3, we had kind of a lackluster campaign. But when we look at the multiplayer side of things, the biggest portion of any premium Call of Duty title. You had 16 nostalgic maps at launch, and multiple new maps released throughout the year. They went in, they fixed all the issues that we had with MWII. Innovated on the perk system. Multiple updates, weekly events, monthly events, different ways to earn camos, prestige camos. They came up with some really good ideas for multiplayer. And they had a massive zombies mode, you know. It kind of hit all the check boxes. Sure, I think zombies just needed a little bit more support, but I mean, overall, it was a fun experience. Its only problem is, what do you do when you finish up all the missions? Again, I don't think this is a bad title. I think they did a really good job. I think they nailed it out of the park. And to elaborate on what I was talking about earlier, I said I'd come back to this. Vanguard was kind of the same way, not on the zombie side of things, but Vanguard had a lackluster campaign. So did this game. And they kind of follow trends, because I mean, if you look at Warzone and how it works right now, it's pretty similar to how Warzone worked when Vanguard was the main title for Warzone 1. There was a lot more support for resurgence modes than there was for the big map. There wasn't a lot of changes on Caldera. So I mean, some things are to be expected, and honestly, like I said, Vanguard's multiplayer wasn't terrible. It's just the time setting. But yeah, to wrap things up, I think Modern Warfare 3 was a huge success, and it's honestly what Modern Warfare 2 should have been last year when it launched. And it's sad that Infinity Ward just kind of seemed to muff it up, but it was a pleasant surprise this year having a really good Call of Duty title. If you guys have watched this long into this video, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I hope you consider leaving a like. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.